The best way to find that out is to listen to your child. Don't interrupt them. Don't try to fix it. Let them talk to you. Hi everyone, welcome back to the Parent Corner channel. I'm Teresa Brown. I'm a licensed therapist for children and families here in Houston, Texas. I'm the owner and the director of the Attachment and Trauma Center of Houston, and we've been hearing this particular question from a lot of our parents recently: child anxiety about school. Many children are experiencing a lot of anxiety about returning to school or returning to school for the first time since COVID started. So there are a lot of different layers to the idea of school anxiety for children. So we're going to put our detective hats on and work together to try to figure this out. The first thing we want to think about is one of the things we've talked about in another video: our feelings about school return. Do we have anxiety about our child returning to school? Remember, you are the co-regulator for your child. If your child is sensing that you have a lot of anxiety about their return to school, our cells are communicating, and that's going to cause them to feel more anxiety because they believe if you're feeling anxious, then there must be something they should be worried about or something that they have to be anxious about. So you've got to remember to check yourself, check your own feelings about all of this, and stop and take a moment to do whatever you need to do to get your feelings where they're in a more calm and regulated state. Our next thing to consider for children with anxiety about school is listen to their worries. This is big in almost anything, but listening to their worries about why they're anxious about returning to school is very important because, as I said, this has many layers. It depends on what's happening for that particular child. It could be a variety of different things. If they've not returned to school in person since COVID started, of course, that's a very big factor. It's been a long time in their lifetime since they've actually been in the classroom, and there's been a lot of things talked about that's kind of also made them more anxious. Wear a mask, don't wear a mask. All of the other things that parents are dealing with right now with schools. So you want to consider, is it returning to school because of COVID? Were they fine before that? Did they have anxiety about school before COVID? That's another thing you have to consider. So like I said, detective hats have to be on. It's going to be a process of eliminating what some of the things are. And really and truly, the best way to find that out is to listen to your child. Don't interrupt them. Don't try to fix it. Let them talk to you. Just reflect back what they say. Offer, tell me more about that. I'm a little curious about this. I wonder about that. But don't stop them and try not to have a facial reaction to anything they say. If they say something that you feel like is not a really valid reason to be worried about going to school, please control your facial expression and your body language and your tone. Remember, 99% of a child's communication is nonverbal. One thing that's been very successful for a lot of parents is doing a lot of activities over near a school. If it's a new school for the child, you definitely want to do time on the playground, time walking on the area near the school, time driving to the school, practicing getting out and going in. If you can actually go inside the school, maybe you got to drop off some forms or different things that you need to do. If it's a new school, take advantage of that. Take your child with you and talk to them about, well, we're going to go see your school today, and have lots of positive feelings about that. But if they don't have positive feelings, once again, go back to listening to why. As many times as you can take your child to have the experience of going in the school, meeting some of the people there, and feeling like it's their school, having some school ownership, those are things that are all going to help. Another important thing is try to find an adult there who can be their connection, their safe person at the school. If you go back and you think about it, a school is a very big building to a small child, especially early elementary school. And they're walking into this big building with all of these people they really don't know most of the time, and they're walking away from the person they're the most connected to. So we want to help them to feel comfortable. Contact the school if you think it would be helpful for them to come by and meet some of the people who work at the school. Most schools have a meet the teacher before school starts, so when they can meet their teacher, that's a great opportunity to kind of look around the school and maybe have a chance to meet the school counselor, the school nurse, some of the people in the front office. For kids who've never been to school and this is their first time to go to school, you want to buy a lot of books about school, talk about it, give them scenarios of what it's like to go to school, talk about what it's like to be in the classroom. All of those types of things are very helpful for a child going to school the very first time. I love books to introduce a new topic to a child. We also recommend that you don't add a lot of stressors at the beginning of the school year. A lot of people are excited about signing up for all these new activities for their child. You want to remember that just getting used to going to school all day when they've not been to school, if in the case of COVID they haven't been to school in like 18 months or more, to a real school where they had to be there physically all day, their body has to build their endurance back up and their ability to be apart from you for that long. So there are a lot of factors you want to consider. If you add other things at the end of the day, their window is probably going to be closed at the end of the day because they're really stressed out from having to have been in this new setting and taking in all these new rules and structure and meeting new people and all the overstimulation of going to a school for the first time. So try to limit your added stressors that you have a choice about until your child's adjusted to school a little bit more. Another strategy that many of our kids have enjoyed and found that gave them a lot of comfort is to exchange something with their caregiver. That means they might give you one of their favorite little loveys, or maybe you exchange a bracelet that you both made together, or something that they can have with them all day that they can look at frequently to remind them that, oh, I'm going to see the mom or the dad or whoever it is. Lots of people have other family members as their caregivers, but I'm going to connect with them again at the end of the day, and then we can switch again, but we're connected all day. I would also recommend that you try to tell them after what period they're going to be able to come home. If you want to say it's going to be after you have your music class or after you have art, after you have recess, then that way they can kind of start to have something they know they can gauge as, okay, after this, I have a little bit more, and then I'm going to be reconnected. It is an adjustment, we understand that, but we try to look for ways for them to know that you are connected to each other. One of my favorite books for this is The Invisible String. It's an amazing book that we share with families and children to remember that we're always connected to all the people that we love. So connection, once again, is the biggest thing for humans. So if you read The Invisible String, they'll know you're always connected no matter where you go. So this one is one that some people have done in the past, and it's really not helpful for the child to just leave when the child is not looking. That's not ever a good thing for a child. When you think about it, that's going to make them be more hypervigilant because they're going to start to feel, well, if I start looking away from my caregiver or the person I'm connected with, they could possibly leave me again without telling me. And in their mind, they could be assuming all kinds of things. We can't always feel like, oh, they know I went to work, they know I went back home, they know I'm coming back. Maybe they don't know that. We can't assume that. It's never a good thing to just leave a child without telling them goodbye, that you will be back, that you love them, that you're connected. And I always talk about that, does your parent always come back to get you when you go to somewhere? Or do they arrange to have another trusted adult pick you up? Reminding them of other times when you've always picked them up or that you always arrange for a trusted adult to pick them up. That gives them the ability to trust that you're going to come back or someone they know will come back and get them. A lot of children today are complaining of headaches and stomach aches when it comes time to go to school. Lots of kids wake up in the morning, oh, I have a stomach ache, oh, I have a headache, I can't go to school today. The first thing we want to do with that is reflect and validate. Remember, we can't tell anybody how to feel. So we're going to reflect back, oh, so you have a headache today. Tell me more about what's bothering you. Then you can kind of find out, is it, a sharp pain? Did it start this morning? Did it start the night before? Did it start during the night? Those kind of things. But if they're having physical symptoms and they continue day after day, our recommendation is that you go to a doctor and have them checked out physically. Let them talk to the doctor and you talk to the doctor so that you can be sure there's not something physically going on that's being downplayed or minimized in order to get them right to school. We're not a big fan of encouraging them to be home from school for many days in a row. The best advice we have is if you've checked it out with a medical person and you've had someone who in the medical field tell you there's not really a medical reason other than that they're having something associated with the thought of going to school, then you want to reach out to a behavioral health specialist. We recommend play therapists. Here we have 6 registered play therapists at our center because play therapists are specially trained through play therapy to understand what the child is showing in their themes of play, so we can start to get to the bottom of what's happening. Children are not going to come and just sit back in a chair and go, oh, I'm so afraid of this or that. We've got to use play to discover what they're not able to yet verbalize. One of my favorite quotes is that behavior reflects an unmet need. We have to always understand that when a child is behaving in a way that is not their typical behavior, you want to find out why. Therapy is a really good answer when you're noticing that your child is continuing consistently to not want to go to school. There's more going on. Sometimes it can be bullying that they haven't told you about because they think you know about the bullying, or they're embarrassed to tell you. Sometimes it can be because they don't feel safe in the classroom, because they don't feel connected to their teachers. It can also be because they're having some problems with a certain topic. Maybe it's math or reading or science. You want to find out more. Are they struggling in certain subjects? If they are, you may need to talk to the teacher in the school about maybe doing some testing. There's going to be a reason for their refusal to go to school. Our job is to work with your child and help figure it out. Thanks everyone for joining us today on our topic of school anxiety. As you can see, it's a very complicated topic. If you have any more questions, you can put them in our comments, or if you'd like for us to have another topic that we discuss, you can put those in the comments too. Thanks for joining us.